Saudi Arabia about to cut oil production so drastically that even Russia was surprised. OPEC Plus has cut oil production after a Saudi pressure campaign that experts say aims to half-heartedly undermine the Democratic Party. The announcement to cut 2 million barrels, a move that sent oil prices skyrocketing just 1 month before the midterm elections, angered Democrats in Washington, who accused Riyadh of allying itself with Russia. Russia, another powerful OPEC Plus member, would really benefit from this move. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said, President Putin will not continue his vicious war against Ukraine. But Saudi Arabia is actually pushing for twice as much oil cuts as Russian President Vladimir Putin, making the Russians. It surprised me, two Saudi sources with knowledge of the negotiations told The Intercept. The sources requested anonymity out of fear of retaliation from the Saudi government. Public reports show Saudi Arabia pushing for much more aggressive production cuts than Russia and other of her OPEC Plus members initially called for. On September 27, Reuters reported that Russia wanted to cut production by 1 million barrels per day, only half of what was later agreed. Then, on October 5, OPEC Plus announced it would cut production by 2 million barrels per day. On October 14, White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said that several OPEC Plus members had opposed the production cuts, but had been coerced by Saudi Arabia. According to the Wall Street Journal, OPEC Plus members who have unofficially resisted the cuts include Kuwait, Iraq, Bahrain, and even Saudi Arabia's close ally, the United Arab Emirates. These countries reportedly feared that production cuts would lead to an economic recession that would ultimately reduce demand for oil. Saudi Arabia, a suspected ally, was seeking even bigger cuts than U.S. adversary Russia, sources say. In 1973, Saudi Arabia led an oil embargo designed to punish the U.S. and other countries that supported Israel during the Yom Kippur War. Then, in 1979, Saudi Arabia again led an oil embargo, this time in the wake of the Iranian Revolution, with the resultant high gas prices playing an arguably decisive role in Jimmy Carter's loss to Ronald Reagan in the 1980 presidential race. Carter famously placed solar panels on the roof of the White House, in a symbolic plea for the importance of the U.S. extricating itself from oil dependency, a gesture for which he was ridiculed. MBS's rule has seen this power wielded in an acutely partisan way. MBS complied with Donald Trump's oil production requests in 2 election years, once in 2018, by increasing oil production to bring down prices, and again in 2020 by lowering production, which Trump wanted to protect the domestic American shale industry, battered by low demand brought on by the pandemic downturn. MBS enjoyed a sweetheart relationship with Trump, Riedel said. Trump stood by MBS when he murdered Khashoggi and his war in Yemen, which has starved tens of thousands of children. There was never any criticism of the Saudis' human rights abuses from the Trump administration. Trump jettisoned long-standing presidential tradition by paying his first foreign visit as president to Riyadh, where he was showered in gifts and inked a record-breaking $350 billion weapons sale to the kingdom. He also vetoed 3 separate congressional bills that would have blocked arms sales to Riyadh, and reportedly bragged about shielding MBS from consequences for the murder of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi, saying, "I saved his ass." You don't need to look hard to understand that MBS is deliberately and persistently acting against U.S. interests and the Biden administration in particular. His actions are not just snubs but punches in the face, said Sarah Lee Whitson, executive director of Democracy in the Arab World Now. He's very nakedly using oil as a lever to try to influence the midterm elections, with the aim of bringing in more compliant Republicans, trying to show us all who's boss even in our own democracy.